All right, so we're gonna do our top or ranking.
We're ranking all theatrical released Star Wars movies. There are 12 of them.
Yes.
And
Don't look at my list.
I'll just start right off the bat because one of them I haven't actually seen. So am I a real Star Wars fan? I don't know. I guess not. Chris would say no.
No, I would definitely say no.
But I wasn't even aware that I guess I was aware that they made it. I just didn't know it was a theatrical release. I did not know it come out in theaters. I thought it was like just with the rest of the cartoons, animated stuff. But there's an animated Clone Wars movie.
Yeah.
And I have not seen it, so therefore I have to rank it at 12.
Okay.
I apologize for my lack of, what would it be? Lack of fortitude?
Fortitude.
Yeah, fortitude.
Okay, so my number 12 is also The Clone Wars. The reason for this is it's not a very good movie.
Okay.
The Clone Wars series, and I debated whether or not we should include the Clone Wars series and Rebels on this list. The only reason I didn't push that narrative is because I know you haven't seen all of Rebels.
Right, I haven't.
The Clone Wars series is absolutely fantastic. It's a must-watch, Star Wars fan or not. It's something you'll definitely fall in love with the characters. It's amazing. This is where you really get, I think it elevates the prequel movies, all right? Because the relationship you get in that show between Obi-Wan and Anakin informs those movies and makes you watch them in a different way. It's an incredible series. The movie came out, it was a precursor to the series. It was like to help launch the series. Mm-hmm. It just wasn't great. And it was just, ultimately, it was not bad either. It just, for me, was forgettable, I guess. So that was my number 12. I'll go to my number 11.
11.
My number 11 is Episode 1, The Phantom Menace. I'll preface this whole list by saying I love every Star Wars movie.
Yes.
And
we're ranking them 1 through 12 because there's 12 movies.
There's something in every movie for me.
Yes.
And there is a lot in The Phantom Menace that I love. And I don't know when The Phantom Menace came out, 98 maybe, 99, somewhere in that time range.
Yeah, I guess I'll have to look that up.
I was in high school. I was a freshman in high school or sophomore. And, I loved the movie at the time. Was Jar Jar Binks annoying? The Gungan City kind of annoying. Was some this pod racing stuff on Tatooine a little bit childish, I guess. But I was bought in. I loved it. I loved every minute of it from start to the end. Where the battle droid's a little dumb with their stupid little talking. Yeah, but if I'm gonna watch back all those movies, it's never one I'm gonna go for. No. I love some of the stuff they did with Darth Maul. Of course, they've expanded on that, and he's much better in the Clone Wars, and he's much better in Rebels. The main takeaway for that movie from me is like more Star Wars. I was so excited when that came out.
Me too.
Blew my mind that it was even going to start happening again. And then to get Qui-Gon Jinn and the Jedi Council and Coruscant and all these places that
so at the time when that came out, which it was 99, looking it up, I was in the same boat. I think I was in 7th grade when that came out. And I thought it was the greatest thing ever. Yeah. Because I had watched the trilogies or the original trilogy so many times. I watched it all the time. We had it on VHS and I would watch it constantly. And then a new one came out and I was extremely excited to see where this was going to go. Again, I was pretty young, so anything really pleased me. And at the time of this release, like in 99, we were not getting the movies of the caliber that we get today. Yeah. So,
but it was fine at the time. I mean, it was cutting edge at the time.
That's what I mean. So at the time, this was a cutting edge movie that blew me away. I enjoyed the pod racing stuff when it first came out.
Yeah, of course.
I liked all of it, and I just was really excited to see what was going to happen with the character of Anakin. Like, we needed to see that, and we'd never seen it before. We didn't know anything was going on.
Obi-Wan. I mean,
yes,
you've always wanted to see that.
All of it was really intriguing to me. And in saying that, that was also my number 11 was The Phantom Menace. So is it one of the weaker Star Wars movies? Yeah. Yeah, it is.
It's weak, but it's not weak. It's one of the weaker movies, but it's more for me. It's just one I won't go back to.
And you know why? It's because it does take place before everything else that happens in Star Wars that is better.
Yeah.
Like the better, more juicier parts of the Skywalker saga that they call it don't happen here. You're just following this little kid get taken away from his mom to do something bigger than him that he doesn't even know about yet.
Right.
And that's where it's at. And that's all there is to it. There's nothing else to it. You don't get to see Darth Vader. You don't get to see, Luke. You don't get to see these people because they don't exist yet. And you're just left with this little boy that has to learn that Obi-Wan's his dad now.
Yeah.
That's it. So that was my number 11. Can I do 10?
Sure.
My number 10 is Attack of the Clones.
Okay.
Which was the very next movie in line.
Yeah.
The reason for that, again, is like the advancement of story here. They have to build up to things. It's a good movie because you get to see that they are actually making these clones, and that's what their army is going to be. I think the big battle scene at the end of that movie is awesome.
The Genosha.
Yeah. Like all of that stuff is really cool. It's kind of hokey in some areas, because of like what Jar Jar Binks is doing, but he's like the comedy relief, right? So you need that aspect.
No, that's more in Phantom Menace.
No, but there's also Jar Jar getting like rolled over all the time in that big battle with the balls and stuff.
I guess I don't remember. They took his screen time way down because he was.
Oh yeah, they took him way down, but he was in that battle running with the Gungans, and they roll over him with them big.
No, that's
balls.
in the first movie.
No, it's not.
That's on Naboo, man. That's in Phantom Menace.
No, I'm thinking about the big clone war, like the war at the end, like with all the clones, like all of the droids and stuff, where they let all the droids out.
That's in Phantom Menace. The big action set piece in Attack of the Clones is when they're in the arena on Genosha. It's Padme, Anakin, and Obi-Wan in the arena fighting the monsters.
You're right.
And then you get like the thousands of Jedi that come down and do like a 1,000 Jedi lightsaber battle.
Oh, that tells you what I remember.
Man.
Yeah, that part is really badass. Dang, I thought that was.
There's only like one scene of Jar Jar in Attack of the Clones, and like he's a senator now or something.
Oh, that's right. He's just in the crowd. Wasn't he just like in the crowd there?
No, I didn't think he was there. He was in a ship or something. He might have been in the Senate.
Well, that shows you why I have it at 10, because I don't remember much about it.
All right, we'll talk about that movie
I think
later.
it's like the least watched movie I've had. Well, Phantom Menace probably is. And then after that is Attack of the Clones. I just haven't really watched much of it.
Okay, well, we'll do my number 10 then.
Yes.
My number 10 is Solo.
Really?
Yeah. Not for lack of disliking it. I think Solo is a great movie. Actually, I think it was a really fun movie. Expands on the universe a little. It just didn't really feel super Star Wars-y to me. But it's a really fun movie with great action set pieces. That train scene's great. Some of the stuff with Donald Glover's Lando was kind of odd, but
yeah, it is odd. But he's a really good actor.
He's a really good actor. Overall, I like the movie a lot. It's just not something that's super memorable to me. It's not one that I've watched a bunch of times. I've only seen it twice, maybe. I like the scene where Han and Chewie meet. I think the guy that plays Han Solo is great. It's one that I'll watch over a little bit more to get a little more info about it. More of an opinion about it going forward, I guess. So for right now, it's kind of down on my list just because I probably have the least exposure to it.
Okay.
And it doesn't really advance any particular storyline forward. It doesn't really directly connect to any storyline. They teased a lot of cool stuff, which is never going to happen.
Right.
But that was my number 10. So do I do my number 9?
Sure.
My number 9 is dun, dun, dun.
Dun, dun, dun.
Rise of Skywalker.
Rise of Skywalker. Okay.
Yeah.
Here you go.
Oh, wait. No, sorry. That's not my number 9.
Okay.
My number 9 is The Force Awakens.
Aha.
Okay. The Force Awakens, again, there's a lot of really good movies above it. That's why it's at number 9. But why it doesn't rise to the ranks of some of the other movies, like Rise of the Skywalker, for example, or some of the other ones, is just because. So I was so excited when Force Awakens came out.
Yes.
I don't think I've
completely
ever been
agree.
as excited about anything in my life.
I completely agree with you.
It was never going to happen again.
Right. We thought this was over.
And it came back. And, I was just a little bit, not that I don't like the movie, and I can go back and watch it. I've watched it many times. It's a very fun movie with great action sequences, good characters, everything I liked about it. It really is it's a good movie.
It is. And I do like how they introduce everybody and get people out there. Like when Kylo was introduced, I thought that was great. I think just meeting Rey in general is really great.
Yeah, on that planet.
Absolutely. I mean,
meeting Poe, honestly, in a lot of ways, I'm probably not giving it enough credit. I probably should watch it again. But it was hard for me to get over the fact that it was a 100% rehash of A New Hope.
Yeah, it was so on the nose.
It's so on the nose that it almost bothered me, and I can't get over it.
It bothered me while watching the movie.
Correct.
Like in the theater, I was like, "Oh man, this is A New Hope."
And it's fine now because I realized that's what they were doing.
But at the time, you don't really realize it.
I didn't know that that's what they were doing.
Yeah, it's just something that you stumble upon while watching the movie for the very first time in theaters as it's released, and it was a bit jarring.
And I told you at the time, I'm like, the first time I watched it, I didn't like it. The second time I watched it, I loved it.
Yes.
Third time, and I saw it probably 4 times in theaters.
So, and any movie I watch, I shouldn't say any, but most movies I watch, all Star Wars movies I've watched, I always come out of the theaters and think it's phenomenal. Yeah. I really do. I always do. It's just because of the high of going to movies and sitting there and seeing it on the big screen or whatever. I love that experience. So I always have a good feeling about movies. So like always in the car ride on the way home, it's not an accurate opinion of mine at that point.
Right.
I have to take time to either see it again or just go over like what the movie is, read different reviews, and then like form my own opinion. Because at that point, coming out of the movie, I'm going to be like, I freaking loved everything about it. Did you see that fight scene?
Yeah.
That's how I'm going to be. That's why I didn't talk much about it in the car ride. And you asked me, you're like, are you like holding opinions for the podcast or whatever? And it wasn't that I was holding my opinion. It's just that if I told you what my opinion was at the time, it was going to be like the best Star Wars movie I've ever seen.
Right.
Just because that's the way I feel at the time. So that was your number 9, Force Awakens?
Yeah.
My number 9, Force Awakens.
There you go.
I feel exactly the same about it. It's just too on the nose, A New Hope. But again, in that scene when we meet Kylo Ren, he stops a blaster
amazing
bolt,
and we get to see
in air, and I think that is one of the coolest things I've ever seen in Star Wars.
back on the Falcon.
Yes.
We're home.
Yeah, absolutely.
There's a lot of great scenes in it. I need to watch it again.
I agree. I need to watch it again too because I haven't seen it in a long time. But I like it. I like it about number 9. I will do my number 8 because we're doing it weird this time.
Okay, yeah, that's right. Why are we doing it weird?
I don't know. Because we can do that.
Yeah.
My number 8 is Last Jedi.
Okay.
And I don't know. We've talked about The Last Jedi a lot. I hate the green milk thing and milking these udders on that animal. I hate it. That is one part that I will say I hate in the Star Wars world. I think that is so ridiculous and unnecessary. Why do we need to see Luke sit there and do that? Like, it adds nothing to the film. I don't think it was funny. I know they drank blue milk because they're in a different universe than us. You didn't need to put that in there whatsoever. The way they portrayed Luke bothers me a little bit. I think he's a much better Jedi than they ever put on in that movie. He should have been portrayed as a better Jedi rather than being so doom and gloom. And like you had brought up earlier when he's like just tossing lightsabers and who cares about that and whatever. I understand he's like given up at this point because of what happened between him and Ben, and like he kind of went the Yoda way where he felt safer just secluding himself from everyone else rather than hurt more people or cause more issues. Like he thought he was doing the right thing there. I just think they could have acted that out better. I think they could have written that better because Yoda was great. Yoda's always been great. The reason why he went in hiding at Dagobah was for a decent reason because he felt like he failed everybody, like Jedi as a whole, the rebellion as a whole. Like he just felt like he lost everything, but he was still helping. Like he still trained Luke just fine. Like he was still doing things within the Force.
The Last Jedi is Empire.
I understand that, but I'm just saying, like, I don't feel like
Luke
was
went
portrayed
to Yoda,
the right way.
Rey went to Luke
But-
on seclusion.
But Luke did not portray a Yoda
Sunk in
figure to
X-Wing.
me. Yeah, but Luke did not portray a Yoda figure to
No,
where
he
it was
didn't.
like, I didn't feel like he had any worth
But he didn't
until,
want to train Rey, and Yoda didn't want to train Luke.
but he did very well.
And they both did.
Luke didn't really train her much at all. There was like no training that happened.
I think there's
in that
time
movie.
jumps, invisible time jumps in that movie that you're not
Yeah.
really aware of at the time.
Yeah. But then I like his force projection of himself at the end of the movie. I think that's awesome.
At the Hoth part of the movie.
At the Hoth part of the movie, yes, absolutely. Only with the red sand
Yeah.
or the red salt.
Salt.
I think all of that part's really great. I like how you see like Kylo Ren gets so infuriated.
Yeah.
And he just is so like beyond himself angry that he thinks he can just, do whatever he wants to do. You can tell he's using his anger. I like how they do that in most of the Sith people. Like they just are so, like they just have to use their emotion. Their emotion is just so overcome in them that like that's all they use.
Right.
I like that. And I like how Luke looked at that point when he looked like the Return of the Jedi Luke. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of scenes I like, and I don't dislike it as much as most people do. I do have it as number 8, but that's still 4 places higher than other movies.
Yeah.
I think it's pretty decent, and I've actually probably watched that. I've watched that a heck of a lot more than I have Force Awakens.
Oh, I agree. Me too. So we'll talk about it more because obviously I have it ranked a little higher than you. So I'm going to give you my case for that movie when we get there.
Okay,
Is it me now?
it is. You're number 8.
My number 8 is Rise of Skywalker.
Okay.
And I threw that in there because while I find it to be a fun, entertaining movie with a really good second half, or third act, I should say, or very entertaining third act, I feel like it just lacked the emotional weight that was necessary in dealing with the gravity of its position in this franchise.
Mm-hmm.
I'm saying negatively, but none of these are negative really. They're all very good movies, but I was just a little bit, ultimately at the end of the day, I like the movie a lot. I'll like it more when I see it more.
Mm-hmm.
I'll probably end up loving it. The acting was on par, much better than the other 2 movies for those characters. Everything was really good about it. There's just some bothersome things, and that's why I ended up there. But I still enjoyed it.
Okay.
My number 7
7, yes.
is Return of the Sith. Oh my God.
Revenge of the Sith.
Revenge of the Sith. Revenge of the Sith, which I just watched the other day and I really enjoyed. Forgot how much I liked that movie.
Yes.
It is a great movie. There's ones above it that I think are better, but that was, I believe in 2005 that movie came out.
It was.
I loved it at the time. I thought it was great.
Oh, yes.
And it really does tell a very good story, and it really does sell you on the psychological breakdown of Anakin and the manipulation of the Emperor and the confusion that he causes in turning the Jedi Order clouding his perception of what the Jedi Order is. It's a very mature movie.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. So you sold me on that a couple weeks ago now, when you were talking about it, because you had just went back and watched it. So then I had to go back and watch it, and I watched it all, and I 100% see it in a different light than I really ever had. I had always loved that movie. Especially when it came out again, like after I saw that, I was like, that was the biggest payoff in a Star Wars movie I've ever had, because I just needed to see all of the things that happened in that, especially, with Darth Vader in the end. But we'll talk more about it.
Okay. So your number 7.
My number 7 is Solo. I have it as number 7 because I think it is a pretty good movie. I thought you were honestly going to have it higher than what you did, because you've talked about how you liked it.
I did. I really did like it.
Yeah.
And I like the fact that it can exist without having all this pressure.
Yes.
Of these other movies.
So that's how I felt it was. Everybody was kind of panning it for a while as not that great of a Star Wars movie. Bull crap. Like, I liked it. It may not be perfect for Han Solo. It's not necessarily a perfect Han Solo movie. But then again, how can I say that?
Yeah.
How can I say it's not a perfect Han Solo movie? That's what we've got.
My main problem with Solo, my only problem really, because you can't really have a problem with a movie that just tells its own story.
Exactly.
But my only problem with it is it really sets Han Solo up to be a character which...
It was somewhat uncharacteristic to
what that
Han
character
Solo
should be. But again, we're all just assuming.
Exactly. And I liked a lot of how that story plays out. I love when he meets Chewie and they go from there, and I don't know, there's just a lot of things I liked about it. So I put it higher than most.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I get it.
It's still not halfway yet though.
Yeah.
My number 6. Let's see. 6, right? Is Rise of Skywalker.
Okay.
I have it as 6. I do like it better than Last Jedi, and I know you were saying it doesn't pay off, or it ruins the payoff for Rey being a nobody, and I never really looked at it like that before until you brought it up just tonight. And I would agree with you. I agree that it doesn't really pay off her character, because now she's a Palpatine, and everything that's happened before was like already written,
Yeah.
She didn't build anything up. It was going to happen regardless of what she did. So, yeah, I do understand that, and that is a little bit kind of sad, I guess, for her character and not getting a payoff. But all in all, I love that she does have the ability that she has. I love the fact that she has to overcome the fact of knowing she's a Palpatine, because I think she's okay knowing that she was a nobody, but when she found out she's a Palpatine, that hurt her more than saying her parents were a nobody, because now she's directly tied into the people that she thinks she should hate.
Yeah.
And she thinks she's going to become these people that she hates.
Yeah, she does. She believes that she's destined to become
a Sith Lord or Duchess, whatever you want to call her. She doesn't want that. As soon as she hears she's a Palpatine, you could see like the crushing emotion in her face. Like, this can't be me. And I think she would have been better off thinking she was a nobody. And Kylo knows that when he says it to her. Like, doesn't Kylo tell her that she's a Palpatine? Yeah, he does on the ship when they're fighting each other through the Force.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
And he's the one who says it to her, and he does it just like he said, "You're a nobody." He does it in the same vein as that, but he knows it's going to crush her even more because she's...
No, he tells her she's a nobody to protect her in The Last Jedi.
You think so?
Yeah.
You think that's what it was?
Yeah, I think so.
But in this one, he's telling it to her to crush her.
I don't know.
Hopes and
I don't
dreams?
remember. I'll have to watch it again. I've only seen it once, but no, I don't think he's trying to crush her at all. He loves her. He wants to be with her. He wants them to defeat the Emperor together.
Right. So then why do you think he would go? He would be the one to tell her she's a Palpatine.
I can't remember. Honestly, I need to watch it again.
Yeah.
I need to see it again.
I agree. Well, anyway, I like Rise of Skywalker just because of where it goes. I love how they end. I love Kylo Ren's storyline. I like Rey's storyline, even though, like we were talking about, I still like it throughout the whole movie because her acting is like way above what she has done before. Kylo's acting is way above what he's done before. Poe is really great because I felt like he actually had a purpose rather than in The Last Jedi. He was kind of
his purpose in The Last Jedi, and we'll talk about that, he's a flyboy. They say it in that thing. So he's he's got an ego, or he's got whatever.
Right.
His character arc isn't really well paid off in The Rise of Skywalker either. The idea that he grows, his character arc is supposed to be that he grows from this kind of impulsive, arrogant, jerk. And then Leia dies, he becomes the general, and he kind of comes full circle. And they don't really do a very good job of paying that off at the end. Like, he continues to be kind of an arrogant, impulsive person, even up to when he is in command.
To a point, because
although he gives command to Finn.
That's what I was going to say, because he goes to Finn and he absolutely tells him, like, I can't do this without you.
So
like, I'm going to need you.
I guess that's like a one-line dialogue payoff to try and like quickly close his character arc off. But I mean,
he does it like
could have been paid off better.
The whole third act is him realizing that he has to have a team of people around him. He can't be the one that plans everything, and then he uses that team to go to this place where Rey has told him to go.
Yeah, and then he gets there though, and then kind of, I guess, quickly realizes like he doesn't know what to do.
Right.
So like that is okay. Yeah, I'll give it to you.
So anyway, that's Rise of Skywalker is my number 6. I love the ending of it, to be honest. I know there's going to be more involved with her. I hope, I guess. I do really hope there is more involved with Rey to see more of her character.
I would agree. And I don't think that I would have said that before this movie.
I would not have. No, I would not have. But
I've actually grown to like that character.
Yeah, I was definitely not in love with that character whatsoever, because there was nothing to really love. They didn't give you much with Rey besides, I mean, they give you the base storyline and it's around her, but there was nothing there to really latch onto.
Yeah. All right, I'm going to say my number 6, which is The Last Jedi. I did really enjoy this movie. I liked it at the time. I liked it ever since. I've probably watched it the most of any of the new prequel or new trilogy movies. And I grew to enjoy it even more after seeing The Rise of Skywalker. I liked the bold narrative choices that were taken in the story and the plot. I liked the ambition that Rian Johnson had to move the storyline forward and take it in a different direction, although ultimately most of that was unresolved. Mm-hmm. I enjoyed the set pieces. I liked there was some really beautiful battle sequences. There's a lot of really beautiful cinematography.
There is.
Unbelievable.
Big time.
I didn't like also a lot of the stuff with Luke. I had a lot of problems with what they did with his character. Mm-hmm. Ultimately, it's nothing that keeps me up at night.
See, to me, it kind of was just because I have so much weight on Luke Skywalker.
See, I don't.
How?
I just never really...
Because that's where the story... That was your main character. And then from Return...
Leia, I mean, they were all main characters. Darth Vader, I mean...
I know they are, but like Luke was the original Rey, right? So...
I really never...
He was the one that you needed
that much on the original trilogy with Luke. Not that I'm saying I didn't connect with him and he wasn't my character, but I guess maybe I gravitated more towards like Han Solo and Leia and their situation.
But that was a side story to what Luke was going through. That wasn't the main story.
Yeah, I mean,
They're supporting characters to Luke finding out
that's arguable.
how. I mean, it's literally about what Luke Skywalker is doing from the beginning to the end. And
It's
the story
more
around
complicated
him.
than that. Okay, first of all, are we getting into a huge conversation here? Because that is just patently false.
It's not. I mean,
You wanted me to break it down by movie?
it's based around Luke Skywalker, though. It is. I know there's more to it than that, but the original trilogy.
So Luke, and Return of the Jedi goes off. He confronts Darth Vader, but who's down on Endor? Who's taking down the shield generator? That's a huge part of that story.
Yeah, it is.
And that's the part of the story that I gravitated towards more.
Yeah.
If we're talking about Empire, right? A large part of that story is Han Solo.
I know, but I'm saying it's called the Skywalker saga because it's about Luke Skywalker
Anakin Skywalker.
and Anakin, but the original
Leia.
trilogy is where it's from. The original trilogy. So A New Hope, Empire, and Return of the Jedi. That story is about Luke Skywalker.
Whatever. I don't even know what we're arguing about because it doesn't matter. Like that wasn't a huge issue to me. I thought I liked the direction they were going with that. With The Last Jedi, I was a little annoyed that they threw away everything from The Force Awakens, but at the same time, I wasn't upset by it. I was all right with it. I liked a lot of what happened in that movie. Mm-hmm. The things that really bothered me about that movie were the political agendas were obnoxious to me. Found no place for that in Star Wars.
No.
Most of everything going on in that casino city, which was Cloud City, by the way. I mean, this is Empire Strikes Back.
Yeah, it was Cloud City, yeah.
Whatever. Anyway, I thought it was a really interesting part with Benicio del Toro where he basically makes the case that there's no good guy.
Yeah,
And
right.
that's where things like that, I'm like, this is driving the story forward. This is what we need. And then things like the kid at the end that pulls the broom, which they didn't pay off. Like,
They never do.
We
Yeah.
need that. That's good. Obviously, I think it's ridiculous to have a slow motion chase through space where one spaceship can't catch up to the other spaceship, and one's going to run out of fuel, even though we've never heard about fuel before in the entire Star Wars universe.
Yeah, you've never ever heard about it ever before. And
It still built a lot of tension, and they handled
It
that
did.
tension well. And that's,
and the whole force jump through a spaceship
Also
or through a Star Destroyer was
brand new.
and I thought amazing.
Oh, are you talking about from Rise of Skywalker?
No,
What about the hyperspace chase? Because we've never established
We've never
really
seen
that you
that.
can chase somebody through hyperspace. But
yeah,
anyway.
the hyper jumping.
I think The Last Jedi is a better movie than most people realize.
I would agree with you that it is
My
better
number
than most.
5, right? Because it's my turn.
Correct.
My number 5 is controversial. My number 5 is Attack of the Clones.
That is controversial.
I love Attack of the Clones. I don't know if partially it's because, it came out. I was probably a senior in high school. So maybe some of it could have been like time frame, nostalgia reasons. But no, I think I'm going to make the case for Attack of the Clones being one of the best Star Wars movies. And I'm also going to make the case now that I've finished all my prequel movies that the prequel trilogy is fantastic. It elevated Star Wars to a more mature level. It took basically the original trilogy, which was really basic storytelling, which is a good thing,
Yeah.
an adventure, and it took it to a place of more mature emotional resonance, political intrigue, world building, the kind of world building that Star Wars needed
At the time, for sure.
and it really did. It really built this whole universe that kind of changed your perception of Star Wars through these prequel trilogies. They're really not given enough credit. People watch them. They allowed their perception of Star Wars as a franchise to be transformed, and then they picked it apart by shitty dialogue.
Yes.
And they allowed themselves to get on this bandwagon of shitting on these movies, which just pretty much changed the game.
They absolutely did, and I think it was a timing thing too. So you have these movies come out when CGI is just becoming a pretty big thing, and everyone is getting the availability of movie reviews. Like movie reviews were out a lot easier to the general public in 2000. What was it?
2002 or 3, yeah.
Than it was in the 80s.
Yeah.
You know, like the last movies you had were in the 80s, 78 and 83 and something else.
I think it was 78, 80, and 80, 82 and 84,
Something like that. Well, whatever. So you didn't get movie reviews from those movies unless you were like reading movie reviews in the newspaper, right? Like it just wasn't as a big of a deal. And people went to the movie theater and they didn't have cell phones and they didn't have the internet and they didn't call people just to talk about a movie they seen. If it came up in conversation, I saw that Star Wars movie. That's it. Now when these trilogies come out, they are just, we have wide access to all of this stuff and you can slam them as much as you want because it wasn't anything like, to a point, it wasn't anything like the original trilogy that everybody has been watching for the last 25 years.
Yeah.
You know, it was completely different because it was new.
Yeah.
It's still in the same world, but it's brand new and not done the same way.
Yeah.
It wasn't practical effects. It was CGI, and everybody thought it was ruined.
Well, and, you know, there was the little things like the robots were ridiculous or, you know, they looked fake and they had these weird personalities. Anyway, let's get back to me telling you why Attack of the Clones is such a good movie. First of all, it's Obi-Wan's story. It's a story that I've always wanted to see, and it's a story you really get to enjoy him as a character. But it's when you really get the expanded idea of what a Jedi is. So this is the first time in the entire franchise where you understand that Jedi are soldiers and spies. In Phantom Menace, you understand that Jedi, in the original trilogy, you don't really know what Jedi are.
Right.
You know, Luke doesn't really even become a Jedi. So what you understand a Jedi as is like a warrior, a skilled warrior.
Yeah. Almost like a samurai.
Yeah. What you get out of the Phantom Menace is you understand that a Jedi are politicians. Okay. They broker deals. They broker peace deals. They have a council. They talk to the Senate. What you get out of Attack of the Clones is that they're generals. You know, they are spies. They are all-purpose special forces.
Yeah.
And you get to follow Obi-Wan on a spy mission to uncover the clone army. Mm-hmm. And it's very intriguing throughout the entire thing. That's like the B plot. Every time they switch, the only thing and the reason why people shit on Attack of the Clones is because the A plot was a really wooden romance between Anakin and Padme.
You're right.
Where they roll around in daisies.
Yes.
Okay. But the B plot was solid gold. And that was him uncovering the plot of the clones and who ordered them and all the intrigue around that. And then he fights Jango Fett in the rain.
Yes.
In Camino on the platform.
That's a really
it's
good
amazing.
one.
And the beginning of the movie, you got to remember, it's him and Anakin on a crazy wild goose chase through Coruscant to try and uncover an assassination plot.
Right.
On Padme. It's incredible. And you also get the...
And he's jumping from ship to ship.
Yeah, and you get the some great action, of course, but you also get, like, you start to feel like the brotherhood...
Right, between the
two. And then it ends up with, honestly, one of the best action set pieces of any of the Star Wars movies, and that's on, I think it's Genosha. When they're in the arena, they're captured, they're in the arena. Padme, Anakin, Obi-Wan are tied up. They release these gigantic monsters, which look great. And they fight them in this arena to these crowds. And then, you know, with Jango Fett watching, and at the climax of this scene, the clone army finally shows up. Yoda in tow.
Yep.
They show up. Thousands of Jedi cornered in this arena, battling. And that's when the clone army finally comes in, and you're off to the races, man.
Yeah.
It's a really incredible movie.
You're selling me more and more on this movie because I haven't seen it in so long that It sounds pretty good.
It just gets weighed down by the narrative of Padme and Anakin falling in love.
And that really is what I remember about it, is him, like, their love affair was not good. I did not think their...
But, I mean, there's killer sequences in that subplot where they go back to Tatooine and he goes to save his mother.
Yeah.
Where she's abducted by the Sand People. He goes to save his mother. And you have to remember that scene fully. It was really powerful, even though the dialogue was wooden. And by the way, I've begun to reflect on this a little bit more. I don't think Hayden Christensen is a terrible actor. I think the dialogue he was given was spotty at best. And on top of that, I think that he was playing that as directed. I mean, he was supposed to be whiny. He was supposed to be like that.
Probably.
Conflicted and whiny. But I think if you watch that movie again, you'll remember a certain scene where he's riding out into the deserts of Tatooine to save his mother. Mm-hmm. And that's when they first launch into that score, which is, I think it's Dawn of the Fates or something. It's one of the best Star Wars musical sequences. It's the one with the big chorus background. Blah, blah.
Oh, yeah.
Blah,
Blah,
blah.
Yeah.
It's an incredible scene. And that movie, whether I'm just crazy and I just remember for nostalgic reasons or not, I really think it's an underappreciated gem. And I'll take this moment to mention also, because it's the last of my prequel movies, to mention the fact that the score all the way through in the prequel movies is unbelievable, and it blows the doors off of this new trilogy.
Completely agree with you.
Which is
I completely
not
agree
nearly as memorable. And the original trilogy is obviously iconic.
No, they use that. I think they use the score in the prequels and the original trilogies, but I think they use it more so in the prequels as like part of the movie. It's
Correct.
it's like building your anticipation for things, and like when things are happening.
It's score. It's true
actual
score. And in the original trilogy, while they use the music amazingly, and it's still scored obviously, but it's nuanced in the prequel trilogy.
And I think it kind of is in the new movies.
Yeah, but not as memorably.
Yeah.
In a way that.
No, I mean, it's like not as good. It's nuanced in the new movies. It's not like the prequels at all.
Right, I agree.
When it comes to score. So my number 5, because we got to get rolling, is Return of the Jedi.
Okay.
So I have it as number 5. I love Return of the Jedi. The one thing that I can remember about Return of the Jedi more so than any of the others is that it played really hard into being not necessarily campy, but trying to be funnier.
Yeah, it was more directed at children, perhaps.
Right. It really was, I think, compared to the first two. Like the first two, I think, were portrayed a little more seriously, and then Return of the Jedi comes out and it seems more kid-friendly. Even though there's really good fight scenes.
Really, when you think about it.
No, there's really good fight scenes, and there's things that aren't technically kid-friendly. It's just funnier. It's meant to be a little bit goofier than the other two movies that came out, I think, from what I remember it. But all in all, I mean, it's in the top 5 here, so we're getting into some pretty good movies.
Yeah.
The original trilogy is going to be in my top 5 no matter what. Next week, if you ask me, I might rank them differently. But I don't know. Return of the Jedi, I think it's the weakest of the original 3, but still a very phenomenal movie.
Okay. You're on to number...
My number 4.
4.
Is Revenge of the Sith.
Okay.
So I went back and rewatched it again after you had told me about it, and yes, holy smokes, is that good. I love the breakdown between Anakin and Obi-Wan. And not just like, so he goes and kills the younglings, and, did you see the security video of Anakin killing the younglings? And you can see the heartbreak in Obi-Wan the entire movie. So much. And that got me all worked up, because I was like, because when I originally saw it, I was much younger, obviously. I've seen it many times since then, but didn't really pay attention to it as well. Once you brought it up, I really paid attention to the movie. And Obi-Wan is like breaking down throughout that movie because of his brother, like his kid almost, in a way, because he had him since he was so young and been training him since he was so young. And then on the other side of that, you can see Anakin like not trusting a single person because of different things that have come up in his like journey, and then just being overtaken by his emotion. And that was where the Sith have been driven to begin with. Like he cannot control his emotions. He just can't get over it. And Padme is a big part of that, obviously. And I don't know, like in the whole scene on Mustafar where he actually,
You were
loses,
supposed to be the chosen one.
yeah. And people like, I have the high ground. That's always been a big thing on Reddit. They put that stuff up there all the time, kind of as a joke. But again, at the time, Obi-Wan is like, he can't handle it. He knows what he has to do because he is a Jedi and he's going to do like what his job. He's not going to let a Sith win. And at that point, Anakin is basically one of them now. He's turned to the dark side. I have to stop this.
Do you think that transition of Anakin from Jedi to Sith is what makes Obi-Wan more powerful than him? Because clearly,
absolutely,
Anakin is the more powerful Jedi.
Yes.
And Obi-Wan says it himself.
It's 100% the truth. And the downfall of the Sith is because of their emotional tie-in. Like they are blinded by their emotions in most situations. A lot of them are very good, but when it comes right down to it, like in a big time fight, when things are happening and something's got to change, they are blinded by their emotion. And any Jedi usually is not. Whatsoever. They're very clear thinking. And I think that's absolutely what gives Obi-Wan the upper hand, because he is of clear mind and knows what needs to happen. And Anakin's just swinging for the fences for a while, and then he gets burnt to a crisp. Yeah. But then again, at the end of the movie, he's rebuilt, and you see the whole rehab, and then the payoff of seeing Darth Vader standing up in the ship, like all of that.
It's a great movie.
Unreal. Loved it.
Yeah.
Your number 4.
My number 4. And I'll quickly mention one more thing because I thought of it about Attack of the Clones. That makes it amazing. Christopher Lee plays Count Dooku. Mm-hmm. Great character.
Very good.
Great character. Doesn't have a big, that's kind of his main movie.
Yes.
Grievous is more the Grievous and the Emperor are more.
Yeah, I'm not a huge Grievous fan.
No, me neither. But number 4 for me is A New Hope. We're in the top 5 now, so they're all great. A New Hope is, for the original trilogy, to me, the least rewatchable, probably because I've seen it a billion times.
So many times.
But it's the simplest story by far. It is really a very simple story. And we'll never really... I mean, what can you say? Everybody's seen it. It is what it is. It's an amazing movie. It's the adventure and the excitement of discovering this whole new world every time you watch it.
Yeah.
And every time you watch it, you 100% remember the first time you watched it.
Yes.
Even if you don't remember specifically the first time, because like you watched it when you were too young, you feel it every time.
I completely agree.
And I'm not going to go over the points of the movie that are great because it's like a really well constructed movie.
And if you honestly haven't seen A New Hope yet,
well, you're not listening to this podcast.
Yeah, you aren't listening to this, so you know that movie and how it's affected you as a person, or when you've seen it. And I mean, all of it. Star Wars is based off of these first 3 movies, right? And that's all we had to go off of forever. So everybody had watched them so much.
Yeah.
That they are just, regardless of quality of movie or even how they're structured or put together.
They still hold up, man.
They absolutely hold up. But I'm just saying, regardless of all of that, everybody has seen them, and they are such a staple in the film industry that, I mean, they'll always be some of the best movies.
Yeah. Agreed. My number 3 is Return of the Jedi.
Return of the Jedi.
Yeah. I mean, I'm going to give it... I've always loved Return of the Jedi. I mean,
Yeah.
It's probably the one I would watch the most because it's a happy ending.
Yeah, absolutely.
But more so than that is because it's got so many great sequences in it, and they're all just kind of separate. So, I mean, for me, it's hard to get better than the opening of that movie. The whole Tatooine, Jabba's palace,
Right.
Jabba's barge scene, all the way through is incredible. And that's probably one of my favorite moments of all of Star Wars, all through that. Obviously, I love the ending of that. Really, there's no beat in that movie I don't absolutely love. So, for me, that's my number 3. I love Return of the Jedi.
Yeah, I do like Luke's confidence in that throughout that whole movie because he's completely different than what he was.
Oh, yeah. I love that.
Before that.
I love him showing up at Jabba's palace.
Yes.
I mean, it's great.
That part is amazing.
And just like everybody's confidence and like, okay.
Yep. Because he's a completely different person at this point. My number 3 is A New Hope. So you and I have flip-flopped Return of the Jedi and A New Hope. A New Hope, I mean, it's the very first film. I do absolutely remember watching this as a child and watching it all the time and just being in love with it. And I just feel like that movie right there is what made me fall in love with Star Wars. You know, it's the first one I ever saw. It's a very simple film, but it didn't need to be more than that. It was what it was, and that's what turned me on to Star Wars to begin with. So I have to put it up there. I think it's phenomenal. Yoda is like the best part in that for me. I've always been a huge Yoda fan, like really big Yoda fan. So
yeah,
yeah, it's really great. That's my number 3. Number 2, here we go, guys. We're down to 2 films left.
Top 2.
Let's just go. I'll do 2, you do 2.
Okay.
And then 1 and 1 because I think we're the same.
Okay.
Maybe. My number 2 is Empire Strikes Back.
Okay.
You could basically call it a tie for first, to be honest.
I would say the same.
Because I can't pick a number 1 without feeling guilty about the other.
Yeah.
And then no matter what. We did a back last March we did a what was it? March Madness basically, but we did a movie thing, and Rogue One had won that for all of us.
Yes.
And so going from Empire and Rogue One, you have to pick one of them. At the time, Rogue One is my winner. I mean, I guess you've already know it because those are the only 2 movies left. So I have Empire as 2 and Rogue One as 1. Okay. You?
I have Empire as 1 and Rogue One as 2.
Exactly.
Flip-flopped. So we can go through both of them. Let's talk about
we might as well.
Rogue One.
Okay.
For example, that's your number 1.
That's my number 1.
And I went back and forth. I feel guilty too putting it that high. But I shouldn't.
No, I don't feel guilty putting
There's
it
no
that
Jedi
high.
in it, really, but it's an amazing movie. And again, it's one that just completely took me by surprise how amazing it was.
Absolutely.
And the great thing about Rogue One is it's a war story, and it really showed that, hey, we can make other types of things in this universe, and they're going to be awesome.
And yeah, honestly, and that's a big thing as to why I love it so much is that I didn't expect it to be what it was at all. I didn't expect to be the offshoots of the original Star Wars franchise would be something that I'm putting in the top of my movie columns, you know? And one thing about it, the first act of the movie is kind of slow.
Yeah, but I still love it.
And then, yeah, it's kind of slow. But boy, does it pick up, and it pulls you into each individual character. You're in love with these people. You support what they're doing. Like, you know that the mission has weight right off the bat. sold on the
acting
mission.
is unbelievable. The best acting in any Star Wars movie.
Yes, by far, I think.
And then you get like the whole sequence, not only the war stuff, which is amazing, but you get the fitting end to each one of those characters.
Yeah. You can't beat the end of this movie.
You can't do it, yeah.
And
not even the end of the movie where they have the Darth Vader scene, which is also amazing.
Yeah, which is incredible. That's a huge payoff.
Yes.
But you can't beat... It is technically a happy ending because you know what they're doing and you know what the mission did and you know that they've completed it. They did a good thing and that's going to help the rebellion.
Yeah.
But then you have to sit there and watch them die.
Yeah.
And them be okay with it at the end. Just like, we're together and this is it. What the heck, man?
Yeah.
Like,
it's a great
unbelievable.
movie. And I think they're going to make more. I think they're going to make a show on Disney Plus. They've teased, or they've announced that the actor that played Cassian Andor is going to be in
Another
Disney Plus series. So I don't know who's coming back for that, but it's happening.
Yeah.
In Mandalorian fashion.
Who was the what was the lady's name?
Jyn Erso.
No, I know, but what's her real name in real life? Who was that actress?
I don't know her real name.
I can't remember either. You've seen her in a lot of stuff. She's been in a lot of stuff.
Yeah. It's phenomenal, and I had it as my number 2, but like you said, it could be a toss-up. Empire, on the other hand, is not. As a kid, I wouldn't have said Empire was my favorite. It would have always been Return of the Jedi. Probably because as a kid, it's a happy ending.
And I would agree with you. As a kid, I would probably put Return of the Jedi.
But as I've gotten older, you grow to appreciate more. It's the first movie that I can remember where the good guys lose.
Right.
And you really feel like it's part of a trilogy. It's not a sequel to the first movie.
No.
It's a middle movie. And again, that's probably the first time I can ever think of in my life that that ever happened. That there was like 3 movies that were one.
Yeah.
And this was the middle act, and they lose. But okay, take all that away because you don't appreciate that as a child. So from a filmmaking aspect, it's all great, and from a story writing aspect, it's amazing. But just take the individual components of that movie: the Hoth sequence,
yes, unbelievable.
the Dagobah stuff sequences, really great. The Cloud City stuff,
unbelievable.
I mean, Han Solo being frozen in carbonite. I love you. I know. Boba Fett. I mean, come on.
Yeah, the twist.
Darth Vader stopping the bolt with his glove. I mean, Lando selling out his friends. I mean, everything about it.
You really get to see the overwhelming power of like Darth Vader and the Emperor, like in the Empire as a whole, and that they are capable of more than what they are.
Yeah.
And then the whole like Lando selling out his friend thing. Like there's all these little
twists. But he didn't
twists.
have a choice. See,
exactly.
That's the thing. That's where you get in the nuance,
He didn't have a choice because Darth Vader already got to him. What's he going to do? And he's already in Cloud City. But then, Han gets frozen in carbonite.
Bespin.
And at the time...
We should just be calling it Bespin.
Bespin, yeah. Han Solo getting frozen in carbonite. Like at the time... When you see this movie, you're like, what the hell is carbonite?
You don't even know. You're
dead.
like, it's done.
He's dead. Like, you think he's gone. Like, he's frozen and done.
And then, you find out Darth Vader is Luke's father and everything. I mean, it's really an incredible movie.
Like, there's so many things that just keep piling on top of each other inside of this movie that, and it's kind of in the same way as Rogue One. Like, you see the downfall of what's happening. You don't really get the payoff of somebody winning or the mission succeeding. You don't get that at all. But you do get the fact of, like, again, you get a basis of, like, how powerful the Empire really is and what their reach is. Like, the reach of the Empire in this movie is extraordinary because everywhere they want to go has been basically overtaken.
Yeah.
And that's what's proven on Bespin. But then... Luke really understands that he has to get better. Like he can't just be who he thought he could be without Yoda and without like learning and getting more training, which is why he goes back because he's like, I gotta get stronger here. But there's just so many things that happen. It should be in most people's lists, Empire is usually always number one. I have it as number 2, but really I think there are 2 number 1 movies. It's really hard to choose from it. Obviously, as you can see, because you have Empire as number 1, Rogue One as number 2. I have Rogue One as number 1 and Empire as number 2. It's like 1.5 for each.
Yeah, it's just it was so novel at the time. You don't get Infinity War without Empire Strikes Back. Doesn't happen.
Exactly.
Doesn't exist.
Yeah.
Never would have happened. So it was groundbreaking, and
they don't actually say it in the movie, the whole Luke, I am your father.
No.
Like, he doesn't actually say that. But that has been a tagline and something that people have known regardless of seeing the movies. Everybody knows that that's a Star Wars thing and where that comes from. That has like ascended space and time and will always be something that people know.
yeah,
It's like the catchphrase of all catchphrases.
Obi-Wan never told you what happened to your father.
Yes.
You killed him.
No,
That's pretty good. But you got to like hold on to the thing.
I'm your father.
Look up at him.
No.
Yeah. So
He
that
told me
You killed him.
that's pretty good acting right there. So that's our top 12. That's our ranked Star Wars movies. If you guys want to rank them, I would suggest it. Send it to us at snarfcomics.com, on any of our social medias, Facebook at Snarf Comics, Instagram at Snarf Comics.
And we were going to talk about the future of the Star Wars franchise going forward, but I don't think we have time.
We really don't. It's been pretty long.
So we'll talk about it next time. Obviously, The Mandalorian is going on right now. Definitely check that out.
I believe the last one comes out this week.
Yes, it does. So check that out because it gives you very high hopes for the future of the franchise.
And by this
going
week,
forward.
I mean 2 weeks ago.
Yes.
It came out and it was done.
If you can't get enough of Star Wars and you're like, I'm disappointed in this new trilogy, then fear not, because you have 2 wonderful pieces of entertainment, one called Clone Wars and one called Star Wars Rebels, which I would highly recommend you check out. So with that, Star Wars Rebels, Clone Wars, and Mandalorian, we really have the opportunity going forward to do a lot of amazing things with Star
Absolutely.
Wars. So.